dark hair. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizards, oh, 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 oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, oh, oh. That's a wizard show.
Okay, it's bottom of the ninth. We've got 3 men on base. 15 seconds left in the game. What do? Mackenzie, post a really stupid story? Wrong. Play it safe. Play it safe. Don't say anything for the rest of the month. What's up, nerds? It's your boy. It's 9 o'clock on the dot here at Site B, and Wizards of the Coast is at it again. After knocking out of the park yesterday, making it to the final round, having an amazing 3 weeks of stock shooting up, an unbelievable, for them, great Q3, they decide to present some alternate history. Now, technically, this isn't a lie from a particular point of view. This is just sort of bending the truth. So what they're saying here is that, you know what? The Player's Handbook, 2024 Player's Handbook, did amazing numbers. You know what? The 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide did amazing numbers. You know what? The 2024 Monster Manual did amazing numbers. It kicked ass for sales. I mean, we can't explain why it's, just sitting on the shelves, not moving, and the sales are down so low. But yeah, they sold, and that's technically true, Mr. Cox. That's technically true. So technically, you are completely right here. Just one thing. Yes, it had the strongest ever start, as long as you don't count any other book that came out before the 2024 Player's Handbook. Like, Tasha's or anything that came out during the 3rd edition stuff. Yeah, as long as you don't count those, of all the books you made in 2024, those 3 books sold incredibly well. As long as you ignore the fact that you broke street date and released 3,000 books into the wild 2 weeks before the book was to go on market, and then counted those as sales, and then a week before you broke street date and sent out the book to certain pre-picked open stores, and then counted those sales for the Player's Handbook, and then sold the Player's Handbook on the day it was supposed to, then yes, absolutely, you sold. It was the strongest sales book, as long as you don't count Tasha's or anything that came out before 2014. And as long as you ignore the fact that you violated street date and sold a couple thousand books before you were supposed to, but then counted those as the amount of books sold day one. And then you did the same thing with the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual. You broke street date and still counted the sales. And then you released number of sales of books produced to the people whose job it is to take, count these numbers, like, Office of Weight and Measures and the IRS. And you said, we made this many books, so look, our numbers are up. And that's true. That's true. The numbers that you gave to the powers that be, whose job it is to make sure that you're doing this, those were correct. You did produce X amount of books. Just one more thing. As long as you ignore the warehouse they found that was filled with books that you claimed had been shipped and sold, but were in fact just sitting in a warehouse, and then you were being investigated by the U.S. government and the Seattle district attorney because you lied about products made versus products shipped. You said they shipped, and you counted those towards the ultimate amount of funds and the ultimate amount of sales, but then you just shipped them to a warehouse where they sat And then you are now under investigation for, I don't know, violating street date on 3 separate occasions, technically lying about the numbers produced, and then having books that just sat in a storehouse, but you claim that they were made. And technically, yeah, they were made, they were shipped. It does technically count that this was the most product on the shelves at the time street date hit. So you can say, yes, of all the books that came out in 2024, these 3 books were the strongest. So that's really what he's saying, right? Of all the books we made in 2024, we made what, 6? These 3 books were the strongest sales ever for 2024. As long as you don't count anything that came out before 2024, and as long as you ignore the fact that we violated street date not once, not twice, but on 3 separate occasions, as long as you ignore the fact that we sold several thousand books before we were supposed to, but still counted those towards the numbers sold on day 1, and as long as you don't count the fact that the books we claim we shipped were sitting in a warehouse, it still technically counts as us producing books. So this is our strongest ever start, as long as you don't count anything that we did before 2024. So yeah, it's not lying. It's not lying. Exactly. It's all about how you say it. He didn't technically lie. He just chose to ignore facts. You're a smart guy. You can look it up. What was their best-selling product for current run? Tasha's. And they're not talking about sales. They're talking about fastest off the shelves. And that was Tasha's. Tasha's was basically pure profit. It hit the shelves and was fastest off the shelves. It had the #1 sales of any 5th edition product, any product that Wizards of the Coast made over. I mean, because 4th didn't sell worth shit, and 3 and 3.5 sold pretty good, but it's not the #1 sales. The #1 of all time is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but of the 5e product, which remember, in Wizards of the Coast math, they only count 2014 forward. Nothing that they made before 2014 counts. They never made it. So they can say that, yes, Tasha's went off Tasha shit went off the shelves the fastest, and was the best-selling product until the 2024 rulebooks. Now they can say, look at this, the best-selling product, and it went off the shelves the fastest for the 2024 Player's Handbook because we sold 3,000 before we were supposed to, and then sold another couple thousand before we were supposed to. But technically, we can still count those as day 1 sales. So when ship date dropped that Friday, we could present and go, look how many we sold. But you sold some 2 weeks before that. Doesn't matter. It still counts for total sales. So it is our best-selling product ever of stuff that we made for 5e. But what about, we don't count that. We never did that. Remember, our history starts with 2014 5e. Nothing we made before 2014 5e counts. Oh, okay. But what about, nope. No, still counts towards total sales as of day 1, as long as you ignore the fact that we sold them 2 weeks ago. Technically. And what about the ones sitting in the shelves in that warehouse? Well, technically we produced them. They were shipped. It does count. It does count. You didn't have to say this. There was no reason to do this. You could have just left well enough alone. Q3 numbers were amazing for you guys. This is the best Q3 you've had in a while. Stocks up, Wizards of the Coast is 84% of your profit. Sure, it's Magic the Gathering and the video game stuff, but you can still count it. Absolutely. Absolutely. All you need is dice, paper, some friends. You don't need any of these books. They're all just sprinkles on the D20 donut. Ooh, I like that line. Remind me to save it for later. So there you go. Now, I can't understand why they would do this. It seems dumb. It's like I said in the opening. It's, bottom of the ninth, last game of the World Series. First game of the World Series is tonight. Go Dodgers. You got 3 guys on base. You're winning. You're 1 run away from winning. Do you A, play it safe, or B, take a risk? And for some reason, Chris Cox took a risk. And yeah, again, he's not technically lying, but this was unnecessary, and it's just going to open up another can of worms of people like me who have nothing better to do with their time poking holes in Wizards of the Coast, which, of course, Wizards of the Coast wants because we're talking about them. And as far as the algorithm's concerned, Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast. Doesn't matter if I'm saying shit about Wizards of the Coast. I'm still talking about them. They're still in the Vox Populus. People are still going, Wizards of the Coast did this. And then the stock keeps going up because people are talking about. Why are so many people, I sound like Jerry Seinfeld, why are so many people talking about Wizards of the Coast? I thought we were angry at them. Wow, weird. Wizards of the Coast stock is at an all-time high. Some of the highest numbers since 2023. Why is that? Weird. It's that goldfish memory of Wizards of the Coast. It's that we're failing, but we're failing forward of Wizards of the Coast. It's that we're doing exactly what we said we were going to do in the way we said we're going to do it. Was this statement completely unnecessary? Absolutely. Is it 100% true? No. Does that matter? Not really, because you're technically not lying and you're technically not breaking the law. Will people talk about this like the OGGM? Yes. Is that free press for us? Yes. Then that's so wizard.
Mischief in the classroom, potions gone astray, flying through the quad, now brighter every day. Laugh till we cry hard, sneaking out at night, cloaks in the moonlight, everything feels right.